What's up, everybody? It's Chicago talk show host, and in this reaction video, I'm just gonna give some thoughts on the new pope and what my immediate thoughts were, and share that with you. I'm also gonna post some information that I saw on X, and even some reposts and posts from the new pope himself on his X account. So the idea is to give you some food for thought and to encourage conversation. All right, so what I'm going to do is start off with some comments. We'll go straight on to the Vatican News X account, and let's check them out together. Let's check them out together. All right, so habeas papam. So there's my Latin for you. See, there will never be an African or black pope, or we are not ready as a world. Okay. When will a black man ever be pope? Seems to be a concern for some sort of a black pope here. Why can't the pope be black, right? They didn't vote for Cardinal Robert Sarah because of his color. It's a good post. The new pope is from Chicago. Ain't shit to smile about. What does that even mean? Of course, it's a faceless account, probably some bot, like no engagement despite getting 397 impressions. Like Pope Francis 2.0, but American. Alright. Da Pope. Nice to have an American Pope in my lifetime. Whew. Too soon. Too soon. Let's see. Of course, someone's got to bring football into it. And here we go, the Cubs. Here we go. White Sox, by the way, Chicago White Sox for life. The Bears will still suck. Congrats, Pope Leo. He's a Cub fans too. Boo. Look at this guy, no filter in caps. He writes, "What a horrible pick." Seriously. What a joke, woke. What a joke, woke. We made a little rhyme there. What else we got here? See if there's any. Try to look for some interesting ones, but so far, whoo boy, an American. This should be interesting. I'm gonna like that one. Someone posted their dog posting what, or a picture of a dog with what? Oh man, leave the dogs out of here. Well, there you go. I mean, so far as the comments go, I seem like a lot of it had to do with race and a concern with having a black pope instead. It is what it is. For me, when I was watching the news on YouTube, I thought it was really cool to see that he's from Chicago, so that stood out to me. And the other thing that stood out to me is that he's the first American pope, so that was interesting as well. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. So we'll start with the first post to consider regarding the news of the new pope, and that's by Dr. E. Michael Jones, and he writes, "If nomen est omen, then Pope Leo XIV is planning to follow in the footsteps of Pope Leo XIII, who wrote encyclicals condemning Freemasonry, Americanism, and the capitalist exploitation of labor, while at the same time making Thomism the official philosophy of the Catholic Church. He was also instrumental in the creation of Civiltà Cattolica, which published a 3-part series on the Jewish question in 1890. That's interesting, right? So when we look up the etymology from that Latin phrase, nomen est omen, we get the origin of this saying is attributed to the Roman playwright Plautus. In his play Persa, the slave Toxilus lures his owner, Dordalis, to buy an expensive slave girl named Lucris, profits, saying, "The name and the omen are worth any price." You know, that's interesting to consider because, you know, naming is so important, right? So much information and, dare I say, destiny is tied to your name. And it's wild to consider, right? But we all know that names, there's something that transcends the spiritual and the monotony of just using your name to be like, "Hey, Greg, did you get that email?" There's something more to it, right? Yeah, there's all kinds of Gregs out there, but, you know, at the same time, there's just that one kind of Greg, right, that you happen to work with to write those emails, right? In that particular instance, you see what I'm getting at? It's just it's. But what do you think? It'd be interesting to know what you think in terms of your thoughts about names, naming things, and if you what you think of the significance of the new pope and the title of Leo. Let me know in the comments. This next one is interesting. It's a repost by him, and it's interesting, right? Especially that question. Do you not see the suffering? Is your conscience not disturbed? How can you stay quiet? I think that's the question, right? That everyone's kind of facing in one way or another. All right, guys. And so for the third and final one that I'm going to bring up, it's this one. So uh, at the time of his tweet, he writes that. And so let's take a look at the article that's being referenced here. Let's take a look at it together. So the author, Kat Armas, writes, the internet has been buzzing since Vice President J.D. Vance said during a Fox News interview on January 29th, quote, there is a Christian concept that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens, and then after that prioritize the rest of the world. A lot of the far left has completely inverted that. So, yeah, instinctively, there's alarm bells ringing as far as that's being an insufficient version of an understanding of the love that Jesus has. And I do agree with what the author is, how the other author describes it with it's coming from a place of abundance, not scarcity. And I think she does a really good job of writing this next bit and expressing that. She writes, but the problem with this hierarchy is that it feeds the myth that some people are more deserving of our care than others. It's a framework that makes sense in a world governed by scarcity and fear where protection comes at the expense of others. But Jesus never speaks of love as something to be rationed. He speaks of love as abundance, a table where there is enough for everyone. When I read something like that, I think of like the Bible stories where he feeds a crowd of people with plenty of fish and bread, right? And it also makes me think of the idea that God provides and that he works in mysterious ways, and we cannot understand those ways, right? But we got to have faith. It makes me think of those things. But I'll continue. The author writes in the article, colonial ideology has conditioned us to think in binaries and hierarchies, who is in and who is out, who is first and who is last. We struggle to fathom a love that is not ranked and does not sort people into categories of worthiness. But Jesus seemed to be inviting us into a different world altogether, one where love moves freely and without hierarchy, breaking down the borders we've been taught to build. When Jesus was asked, who is my neighbor, end quote, he responded with a story. A man is beaten and left for dead. The religious leaders pass by, their robes untouched by the mess of it all. The Samaritan, a stranger, a foreigner, an enemy, stops. He is the one who shows love. And that was really well put, because that's absolutely right. What we need right now as faithful, as Catholic faithful, in my opinion, is more unity and less bickering and less racism, less classism. All of these things need to go. And there, you can see it. It's become wholly intolerable at this point, the double standards. And this is how the double standards are so thick now that people can see how full of it you are. And so, it is, I think right now, it just makes me think that it's just wild to think about. It just makes me think that a lot of this has to do with like some sort of a test that we're going through. And, it really is about, putting what you believe in, but I digress. Let me know what you think about the news about the new pope, and I'd be excited to read your comments and thoughts. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.